Who is Nancy Meyers and why is everyone obsessed with her right now? Hey y'all, it's Kaylee from The Simple Cozy Haven. Welcome back to another video. If you've been online in the home decor realm lately, you will have seen the name Nancy Meyers pop up almost nonstop. If you're wondering who is Nancy Meyers, let me introduce you. She is the producer of some of these very popular movies you probably know. The Parent Trap, It's Complicated, The Holiday, Father of the Bride, and Something's Gotta Give. If you're familiar with these movies, you've probably already been introduced to the Nancy Meyers lore. But if you haven't, let's dive in and discuss why people are obsessed with her home style. I think one of the most important elements of a movie is the setting and being in a place where you can actually really picture life there and even kind of insert your own self and your own life into that movie set. If you could envision yourself as the main character, that is what makes a really good movie, in my opinion. Nancy Meyers creates this beautiful, cozy, luxurious, yet lived in look that so many of us are looking for in this day and age. It's honestly probably what most of us would classify as a dream home. It's got beautiful elements, neutral color palettes, luxurious finishes, but also it looks like you could go cozy up with a book in a corner and have a hot cup of tea and be perfectly content for the rest of the day. The spaces are effortlessly lived in and yet totally attainable for the everyday person. Granted, it's not as effortless as it may seem, but everything was intentionally placed to give you that feeling, that emotion of you being the main character. Some people would say that Nancy Meyers' style is kind of like a coastal grandmother, which I do see. It's very traditional in a sense. It's cozy. There's so many layers with more linens and different patterns. There's rugs. There's so many lamps. There's always a lamp on in the house. There's always the perfect amount of pillows on the couches, and it just really makes you want to step into that world. And it might not even be the actual house that we're drawn to, but the emotions that are evoked from watching these films. It's almost like we could envision ourselves sitting there with them having dinner and part of the conversation. It really is just like this huge dream on both the aesthetics and the emotion. So she just pulls everything together perfectly. One thing that you will a lot of the time see is people still talking about the kitchens. People are still always talking about Meryl Streep's dreamy kitchen and It's Complicated, or the beach house of Diane Keaton in Something's Gotta Give. They're beautiful and functional and just have all of the right elements to really draw you in. The kitchens are always filled with open shelving, pots on a pot rack above a stove. There's always fresh flowers. Sometimes I even find myself just rewatching these films just for the design inspiration. So let's get into how you can create a Nancy Meyers aesthetic in your home too. So the good news is that you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to create this gorgeous Nancy Meyers look in your home. A lot of these things can be thrifted or found secondhand at antique shops, or you can just slowly accumulate items and slowly collect them. And that honestly gives you the most true to Nancy Meyers look. You know, you don't look at her interiors and think, oh, she went and bought all of the new Hearth and Hand line at Target. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going for this super laid back yet pulled together look, you're gonna want to find items that are unique and different. So I touched a little bit on this in my Thrift With Me video. Here are some ways to get that Nancy Meyers look. And I have them all written down, so if you see me glance down, I'm just trying to make sure I mention everything. So layering your lighting is probably one of the ways that you can create the most ambiance in your house. So you'll see a lot of people say the number one rule in our house is we don't use the big light, which is totally true. We use the big light sometimes, but I think adding sconces, adding lamps, even big lamps, mini lamps, rechargeable lamps, and I've got all of those. Just adding all of these layered different soft lighting is one way to really create that cozy vibe. Like, you know, at night you don't want the super bright daylight bulbs on. One, that's not really good for us, and two, that doesn't add to that cozy feeling that we're looking for. So using a warm light bulb, an Edison bulb or something, and layering your lighting, have lots of lamps, as many as you can get. Honestly, I don't think you can have too many, but just having those lamps, and then going a little bit different with your lamps. You can use a fabric to redo lampshades, and that's another way you can incorporate color and texture into your home on a small scale without having to go buy like a brand new couch every time, you know, you want to redo your house. So just having layered lighting, different small lamps, and incorporating more texture and color through your lamps as well is a great way to create that Nancy Meyers feeling. You'll see in a lot of her films that they have built-ins and bookshelves and a lot of trim work. And I know that this is maybe not something that everybody can do, but if it is something that's in your budget, adding in the built-ins is going to really give you that cozy feeling. Open shelving, built-ins, and trim work are another huge element of Nancy Meyers design. And I know that that's not really attainable for everybody, especially if you're a renter. So I definitely understand that. That's not always possible for everyone to do. But if it is within your means and that's something you would really love to have, I say go for it. They are really actually pretty easy to build. My husband and I have done quite a few built-ins in our homes over time. But if not, you can always contract it out. Or there's a ton of different IKEA hacks. If you have an IKEA near you, we don't, sadly. But that's a really affordable way, and also a nice little easy way to step into the DIY world. But if that's not possible for you, or you just don't want to permanently change your house in that way, finding a really nice wooden bookshelf would be another great option for you. That way you could also style it with books and just style it with little trinkets. Like, that's another big part of Nancy Meyers' design, is she just has like perfectly placed trinkets, and I don't really think there's any like a rhyme or reason to them, but if you just slowly collect things that you love, you will find that you actually can create this look without much brain power. Just, you know, it's just collect it, and it might not be, you know, your best friend's style or your mom's style, but it's your style, and as long as you love it, that's really all that matters, right? So having the bookshelves where you can store books, and if you know, want to look for antique books, I love to thrift for them and look on Facebook Marketplace, and I think sometimes eBay has really good items too, so that's another option. And just filling up those bookshelves and those built-ins and all of that with things that you love, you'll find that you really do create that really cozy Nancy Meyers lived-in vibe. Another way you can create this Nancy Meyers feeling in your house is through some of the furniture that you buy. So Nancy uses a lot of very classic, traditional style furniture in her spaces, and if you can find those, I know they are all the time at thrift stores, flea markets, Facebook Marketplace. Like, you can really find a great deal lately, because people are, you know, people are always chasing a new trend, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do whatever you want to do, but finding traditional pieces such as tables or sideboards or buffets, like, that is something that, one, you could also decorate with, but two, very Nancy Meyers-esque. If you're in the new market for like a new couch or a chair, I highly recommend using like a slip covered chair, and just like you could do a neutral linen color would be beautiful and timeless, or you could even look for a striped fabric. I really love a blue and white stripes, or even just like a neutral beige and white stripe chair. I think they're beautiful, and you can find them a lot of times at Home Goods lately, but those are some things that you'll find really give you that cozy lived-in charm. So going back to the kitchens in the Nancy Meyers films, they are always filled with open shelves, and those shelves are filled with dishes. A lot of the times you'll see white stacked dishes and serving platters and everything like that. And that is another great way to give your house that Nancy Meyers charm. And I know, of course, we can't all just go rip out our cabinets and put in open shelves and just redo everything. Like I know. If you do have like a space where you could stack some really pretty white dishes, and even if you thrift them, like I have thrifted so many dishes before, and that's a great way to find those. But if you just have those little stacks of dishes, it can look really cozy. Another thing that's super popular in kitchens is doing the pot rack, and Nancy will sometimes have copper pots hanging from there, or you could add other things, but that's kind of what most of her kitchens are known for, and that's a really beautiful way to also store things that you use. It's very practical. Or you could just do things for the look. If you found like a bunch of old copper pots that you might not want to use, which I totally get that, but hanging those up above your kitchen stove, it just looks beautiful. It's so cozy. It's so lived in. It's so Nancy Meyers feeling. So in the It's Complicated kitchen, you will see bowls of fruit and some potted fresh herbs in the kitchen. But this is also something you could totally do, and it would be completely practical if you wanted to keep oranges or apples on the counter in a really pretty bowl. Not only would it might encourage you and your family to eat more of those things, but it also just looks really gorgeous on your counter. Also, I think storing your wooden utensils on your counter in a crock or a old vase or something, it doesn't necessarily have to be old, but just old looking would be another great option to do. This is what I do in my house. I just keep all my wooden utensils. I have silicone utensils in the drawer, but I don't think they're as pretty, so I just keep the wooden utensils, and it looks so cozy, and I really love it. So if that's kind of the vibe you're going for, that is another option. Another huge element of the Nancy Meyers design is just the neutral color palette, which if you have a neutral color palette with neutral walls and neutral oversized items, then you can come back in with the layers and the patterns and the colors in your smaller items. Such as if you were working on your living room, you could come in with just a regular beige sofa, which is basically what I've got. And you can bring in all sorts of different colors in your pillows and your throw blankets, and you can also switch that up seasonally without worrying of the colors or the patterns clashing. So you can come in and layer in all of these beautiful different pillows and different pillowcases and really create that cozy vibe. And I think another key point to take away is everything is just done in layers in the Nancy Meyers films. So don't be afraid to experiment and try something, a little bit out of the box for you. Even if you don't end up liking it, you will discover more about your style and what you do like and don't like in your space. But basically, you just want to look for things that are a little bit different, unique. You want to shop secondhand if possible. That's going to be your best bet. And then you can supplement, with your linens. You can buy pillowcases from Amazon or Target and mix those patterns. There's so many beautiful pillowcases on Amazon. I will leave a link down below to some of my favorite Amazon pillowcases. But just don't be afraid to try new things and experiment with it all. It's a lot easier to create the Nancy Meyers aesthetic than, if you might think it is listening to me explain it. If you just shop secondhand and buy things you love and just collect them, you will find that you have created your own Nancy Meyers feeling in your house without much effort. But I hope you enjoyed these key takeaways, and hopefully now you know exactly who Nancy Meyers is and you know how to create a beautiful, cozy home for you and your family. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will leave a few videos down below right here that I think you would enjoy after watching this one. And if you're new here, I hope you guys consider subscribing. And if you're not, welcome back. I'm so glad that you joined me for another video today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will chat with you very soon. Bye, guys.